Here it is, buddy. You tell us. This is the big game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Roma Dunze's out and Luther Burden the third is out. What does that mean? Who do you anticipate being the receiving star of this game?
Well, I think you've got a couple options here, and that's why I don't think it's doom and gloom for the Bears with the Dunze and Burden out. Are they better with them? Absolutely. Do they need them? As soon as possible, as soon as those guys can get back out there. But that's a spot they've got just an awful lot of depth at, right? And I think every single guy has proven that they can step up and make plays from time to time. Zacchaeus has had some big plays this season, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody would dispute that. So you've got Duvernay. Duvernay's made some plays, and if you look at his playing history, kind of where he's been previously, he can deliver in the passing game. So you'll almost certainly see Ja'Day Walker get an opportunity, and then just so they're covered, I would imagine you're looking at the promotion of a practice squad wide receiver. You got two options there: Maurice Hardtime Alexander and J.P. Richardson.
J.P. Richardson, they were high on in training camp. I wonder if he has special teams kind of skills that they might want to utilize. Not quite sure. Not sure it matters, Brad, because both teams, I believe, with Josh Jacobs likely to, he hasn't been practicing, but I would be surprised if he doesn't play. And then with the Bears and DeAndre Swift banged up as well, it's heavy doses of the running game. I would be more concerned if the two offensive weapons that were injured and out would be running backs. As long as you have Monangai and Swift, I think we know how the Bears are going to approach this game plan.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, that if you're looking at a really good Packers defense and you're saying, well, where's it soft? I think it's at defensive tackle because of attrition with the loss of Devontae Wyatt, and we'll see how they can adjust not only on the field, but is it a mental hit without Micah Parsons out there? Like, to me, the first quarter will be very interesting, more interesting than usual. You're always curious how a ball game's going to start, but how does this Packers team on the road with everything at stake respond after what happened in Denver? And as I said, that was yesterday a brutal game. It wasn't just Parsons. They've got other guys that were banged up in that game. Jacobs has been playing through that knee injury for a while now. Zach Tom, the right tackle, that already had losses on their offensive line because of injuries this season. So do they come out with a warrior mentality? Is Matt LaFleur throughout the course of this week and then tonight at the hotel able to push some buttons that has those Packer players absolutely fired up? I think you'll be able to tell in the first quarter how they're able to respond, and that's huge to me.
Brad, I'm curious if you're just looking at and thinking of the game plans that the Bears used in the first meeting with Green Bay. Who do you believe alters their plan more? Is it Dennis Allen reducing the amount of blitzing he felt he could get away with, or is it Ben Johnson? Because without the pass rusher there, they may be able to, get the tight ends out quicker instead of chipping like crazy, or getting maybe the running backs into routes if they want to go that direction.
Yeah, the chess match is going to be really interesting because everything's so fresh, right?
Yeah.
From the coaches, sort of putting the final touches on what they wanted to do for that Week 14 game at Lambeau Field, to the install for the players, to sharpening it up in the 48 hours before the game, and then going out and playing. And so the core concepts these teams have, like, Ben isn't going to be able to change who they are to disguise it and surprise Green Bay, and the Packers aren't going to be able to do that either. So it's maybe they can add a wrinkle here, a wrinkle there, a little window dressing. Yeah, Dennis Allen, in terms of, I think you're going to have to pressure, right? But you've got to pick your spots, and you have to hope that you can maybe catch Jordan Love off guard a little bit. They did not do that at all in that first game. There were too many instances of him sort of diagnosing what he was facing before the snap, and then the Bears got hit for those big plays, and they just can't allow Love to pick them apart. But they also can't just sit back because if they're not getting any pass rush at all and only rushing 4, he's incredibly accurate. He will dice them up. So Dennis will mix it up. He strikes me as the kind of guy who's usually got a pretty good feel for that, and I think we'll see a lot of DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monunga.
So, Brad, I think this is the 4th time that both teams have been in playoff contention this late in the season. They played each other. And we've talked all week about how big of a game it is at Soldier Field. Just wonder, you've been covered a lot of these games and a lot of these seasons. What does it remind you of? How big of it is this moment in your mind in terms of Bears' recent history?
Well, they were really good in 2018, and I think a lot of folks have sort of conveniently skipped over 2018 and talked about this being the biggest game in a decade or more than a decade or whatever. Like it's the biggest game they've had in a long, long time. Okay, but there were some really substantial football games, and they won an awful lot back in 2018, and I don't think you can skip over like what they did in that. It was about this time of year when the Rams came into Soldier Field. It was a Sunday night game. The Rams were cooking, and the Bears won that game. What was it, like 15-6? Like, they absolutely put a blanket on Sean McVay's offense. That was a huge game. This is different because it involves the Packers, and if you want to, you can, go back to the playoff game at Soldier Field, right? Between those two teams, there's been big stakes in the rivalry for the Green Bay side. Like, what was it, a couple of years ago, the Bears could have knocked them out of the playoffs. That was up at Lambeau Field. But for Bears fans, this is as good as it gets near the end of the regular season, and they've patiently waited for this for a long time.
This segment with Brad Biggs is sponsored by Estwing Professional Tools, made in the USA for over 100 years, estwing.com. Brad, we saw Tremaine Edmonds get a full participation in practice after being brought back on the 21-day window opening, and he was limited, and now he got to practice. Where do you believe is he in terms of an ability to play in this game on Saturday night? And obviously, he would replace a guy who was the defensive player of the week in the NFL if he came back to his normal role. I would imagine if he does play, that would be probably shared snaps.
Yeah, well, here's what I can tell you. The Bears have until 3 o'clock Saturday to make any roster moves in advance of this ball game. So you're talking about filling out your 53-man roster because there's still a guy short since putting Kyler Gordon on IR a week ago, and you're talking about elevations for practice squad players. I'm looking at a wide receiver there. Potentially maybe they've got another guy as well in mind. But yeah, because that roster spot is still vacant, I would think that Edmonds is elevated. He's only missed 4 weeks. It's probably a see how he's doing out there thing. But yeah, some type of role for DeMarco Jackson. People to me in my mailbag earlier this week suggested Jackson was playing so well there was no way they could take him off the field. I'm like, we've got serious short-term memory loss.
Amnesia?
If we forget, if we forget how Tremaine Edmonds was playing in the different dimensions that he adds, and Ben Johnson actually spoke to that yesterday about just his size, length, and range, and what that does for them in the passing game.
Brad, typically it is Saturday at 3 because they play Saturday night. Is it Friday at 3? Is it today that we'll have
Saturday at 3, Dave?
I'm asking.
Saturday at 3.
Okay.
Yeah, Saturday at 3.
Did you not hear him say Saturday?
Yes, I did. I just didn't know if he was just making sure because the game
I checked yesterday.
All right, that's great. Thank you.
I checked yesterday.
I appreciate you doing that. So, hypothetically, if the Bears are in a position to go for 2 like the Seattle Seahawks did last night in a game that had playoff implications against the Rams, and they were playing at home, and it was a big moment, and Mike McDonald didn't flinch, and they went for 2 and 1. What do you think the Bears would do? We know how they would have reacted on the road last time.
Yeah, I don't think that was even a choice there for McDonald because Seattle had lost the previous meeting to the Rams.
Yeah.
So you kick the extra point and go home with your tie, and the Rams have got the tiebreaker on you, right? Because they've beat you head to head, and there's a tie involved. I think it's an absolute. You have to go for 2. I'm positive Ben Johnson would go for 2 if he was in Mike McDonald's shoes last night. I think I can't imagine there was any consideration of kicking because it's this late in the season, and because Seattle had previously lost at LA, and with the Bears having lost at Green Bay, they'd have to go for 2. Now you flip it around, if it's the Rams in that situation, or if it's the Packers, I don't know. That's some different calculus there. But having lost the first meeting and wanting to be able to get ahead of them in any kind of tiebreaker situation, got to go for 2.
We know that players go down and it's next man up, and people have to get it together, and one man can't replace everyone, but everyone can be replaced in life, and everyone has to raise their game a little bit. How big a psychological blow would it be for a team like this to lose Mike Parsons? Do you expect, the last time they lost a player they really needed, that was the tight end. It took them a couple of games to get over it. This is a little bit different because it's such a louder type of thing to have happen because the amount of money they pay the guy, because they were giving him $40 million a year because they thought he was going to get him to the Super Bowl. Is this the sort of thing that a short-term method can get him through this, but long-term it'll hurt him? Or do you think this damages the Green Bay Packers on Saturday night?
It certainly could. One possible thing that helps them sort of navigate this is they didn't get the guy until right before the start of the season.
Right.
So when you talk about the work that Jeff Hafley and his assistants on that defensive side of the ball in Green Bay did throughout the offseason program, at the start of training camp, and through preseason, it was without a guy that has a Superman cape on the defense. Now, the flip side of that is they had Kenny Clark in the middle of the defense.
That's right.
Pretty talented defensive tackle that has given the Bears some fits over the years, but maybe they could adjust there. Hey, listen, Rashawn Gary is a very talented edge rusher. Lucas Van Ness has got traits. He's had some injuries earlier this year. It's going to be really interesting. Like, they've played a lot of zone coverage with Parsons on the field this season, and knowing that they could get home. If they can't get home sitting in zone coverage Saturday night, it's going to be interesting to see how they react. But Parsons, they didn't have a sack against Caleb Williams in that first game, but I've seen guys that have 2 sacks in a game be way less impactful than Parsons was. He had, 7 quarterback pressures. You saw Caleb running at max speed to get out of the pocket, like not kind of eluding the guy. Like, Caleb's like, oh hell, I gotta get on the move. So it's just a massive loss, and that's why I said, I'm sort of curious to see how the Packers respond with an energy level and things of that nature early in the ball game, because one thing the Bears have done a pretty good job of this season with Ben Johnson is when they've got an opponent down, they've done a decent job at keeping them down. That's a tall task with Jordan Love at quarterback for the other team.
All right, Brad, who you got? What you picking?
Yeah, I think when you could consider the injuries that the Packers have been hit with, I think it's a situation where the Bears are well positioned to win this game. I got them 27-24. They've got to be careful because of Love and the big playability. If Christian Watson indeed plays, if that guy can stay on the field moving forward, I'm talking next year, the year after, it could be really dynamic. But I think the Bears' offensive line and kind of how they've been able to focus on what's right in front of them all season has been really impressive. It made them the pick for me.